Evolutionary.org, a podcast is coming your way, episode 669. Today we're going to talk about the interview with EVO brother Demon Throne. And you can go on the forum and check him out. Top right, search for DEMON underscore THRONE. Now, in the notes, we're also going to include link to his log, and you can go check out his log on the forum simply by searching his name, seeing his posts, and in the signature of his posts, you'll be able to see his log. So it's a really, really cool log, and he has a really good story to tell. So this is going to be an exciting podcast, and we're going to get into a lot of stuff about this. So you're going to definitely, this is a podcast to not only listen to, but also if you have someone else out there who's dealing with some of these substance abuse issues, this is a great podcast to show them so you can show them that you can overcome these types of things, these demons, quote unquote. First, let me remind everyone we are on Apple and Spotify. Help us with the algorithms by smashing the like button on our uh, podcast. Make sure you're commenting. Make sure you're subscribing as on many platforms as possible. That helps us out. So with that said, Demon Throne, thank you for coming on this evening. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. Not too bad, not too bad. It's Friday evening here, so back in the day it used to be beers night, but now it's just rest and relax, getting ready for tomorrow.
Mobster?
Steve, yeah, one of the things you've asked me to mention is to guys, when we're doing the notes for these shows, I'll be putting the link to the logs at the top of the notes. You can go straight to those links and see uh, Demon Throne's log straight away. Demon Throne, as you know, and as Steve's already touched upon, these shows, when we talk about overcoming certain hurdles, are incredibly helpful. And we don't get to do these shows without people like yourself coming on, telling your story, talking about the changes, the things that you've had to overcome to get to where you are now. For the benefit of listeners, it's a hell of a transformation. You can see that in the photographs in his log. So again, without these people, guests like Demon Front coming on, we can't do these shows. So we make sure at the beginning of these shows to, on behalf of myself and Stevesmi, the moderators, the bosses of the forum, who are loving these shows, by the way, and the members and the listeners of these shows, thank you so much for taking time out of the end of your working week to come on late at night where you are and do this show for us. Thank you so much, fella.
It's all good, Mobster.
So let's get into it. Touch upon first growing up. What kind of environment was it growing up? What was living growing up in Australia like? What sports did you play? What sports did you watch? And then when did you first pick up your first weight?
Well, for me growing up, I think you Americans would call us military brats. My stepdad was in the Navy, so I moved around a lot, got very good, very comfortable with making new friends, being in new places, having new experiences. So I was never really in one spot for long enough to like sink my teeth into doing a sport. I never played football, never did soccer, nothing like that. It was more isolation sports. So for a while there, I did archery, I did taekwondo and karate at one point, and boxing as well.
So you didn't play any, what about teams? Seems like any team sports like soccer, anything rugby, stuff like that, or was that not your thing?
No, because the military here in Australia, depending on if you're a high-ranking official or high-ranking member, you can move around quite a lot. So I've lived in what New South Wales, Northern Territory, South Australia, Canberra, and that was all between the age of 5 and 10. So never in one place for
Okay.
too long. So never really did team sports.
Okay, that makes sense. Yep. And
I
then,
just got
mhm.
visions of him because of the Jack Reacher books, living that lifestyle, which could mean going anywhere in the world, never mind Australia. So you are literally dropped into a new place, and You have to get on with people immediately rather than sort of like you normally would in a normal scheme of things, Steve. So it can be a little bit difficult for some people.
It'd be easy for you, mobster, because you can run your mouth like nobody else, so you'd have no
I
problem
talk
with
to
that.
people at the bus stop now, so yeah, absolutely, yeah. But
So,
especially in the
So,
military. Yeah.
so how old
so
were
you're a
you?
bit of a social butterfly, are you, mobster?
Yeah, he definitely is.
It's weird, man. You're probably similar to myself in that regard, purely and simply because I would go out and people would come up and start talking to me rather than the other way around. So yeah, I can switch it on and off. But again, you're in the military and you can have great facilities and great food and all the rest of it. But if it demands your father, your mother, whoever's the serving officer can need as required to go anywhere in the world, and the family has to follow. So it can be a tough situation, depending on where
Yeah.
you are and what you're doing.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you can sometimes have really good facilities. Do you think it had any effects on you when you were growing up?
Uh, yes and no. My stepfather hates me for saying this, but I learned how to adapt and get along with new people, but I never learned the skills of keeping friends because I was
Yeah.
never in one spot for long enough before I was in high school, which is when all of my troubles really started.
So we're gonna get into that shortly. Did you ever lift weights? You did the taekwondo and stuff, but did you ever actually lift weights as a teenager, or was that something that came later on?
I First time I stepped foot in a gym was just just under 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So cool. Okay. So you're very new to the gym. So touch upon now as a teenager, you kind of got into it. What triggered the substance abuse issues in the first place? Was it just hanging out with the wrong crowd and they kind of the peer pressure? What happened there? Or did something happen that sent you over the edge?
Well, with my age, so I'm 31 now. I was at the end of the house party era. So underage drinking, street parties, house parties, all that sort of stuff. So being underage, we'll just go up to one of the older kids, hand them the money, and then they'll take a 6 pack of beer out of a carton. That's how it used to be. So that's what really started it all. And one thing led to another. Started experimenting, doing other things from the age of 13. And it wasn't until after all the lockdowns and that at the end of COVID were lifted that I finally ended up giving the hard recreational drugs the kick.
Tell us at your worst. How old were you at your worst, and what did it look like every day in terms of drugs, alcohol, whatever? Tell us the economic impacts. How much do you think you were spending per day or per week or per month? And what exactly were you consuming at your worst?
At my worst was during COVID. I don't know how you guys measure things over where you guys are or wherever the listener is,
Mm,
but at my worst, I was using 3.5 grams of methamphetamines, or an 8 ball, we call it,
right.
a week.
And how much would that cost you?
1,200.
Okay, so 1,200 Australian. Okay,
About
so
600-700 US and about
yeah.
500 UK.
What else were you doing? Was it besides the meth? Was it alcohol? Was it anything else?
Alcohol, cocaine, MDMA, mushrooms,
Oof.
weed, you name it, I was doing it. I think I spent like $40,000 in 5 months on recreational substances and
Oh,
alcohol.
gotcha. Wow. Mobster?
It's one of the obvious questions, and again, this might be insightful for listeners. And I also want to make an observation at the beginning, right? Is a demon throne, and I just literally looked this up this morning, made the change all off his own back, Steve. This was not therapy, this was not AA. In fact, he's just had a discussion that I looked at this morning with Harley Guy, recognized what he was doing and made the changes for himself. So there's a couple of thought processes. One goes, why do you think you were doing what you were doing? And the second part of that question then becomes, what was it that made you wake up one day and whatever. We've had some great stories from Harley Guy included about people want to be a better dad or better granddad and so on and so forth. So let's start with the pattern of behavior. Do you know in yourself what you think it is that was making you arguably fuck up on a regular basis?
A small part of me believes that it is undiagnosed mental health issues. So
Right.
things such as ADHD or autism.
Mhm.
I've always found stimulants very relaxing. I can smash 2 or 3 energy drinks and fall asleep right away. So the stimulant effect kind of has the reverse effect on me.
Almost calming you down and stopping the fucking brain rushing around like a maniac.
Or my body catches up to my brain, which
Yeah,
might settle the dopamine.
yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Is
But what
is
about the change? Sorry, what
Yeah,
about
go
the
ahead.
change? Harley Guy talked to one of the things that the interview we did with him was dying, and it still wasn't enough. He got more upset by missing his son's birthday, and that's what fucking pulled him back from the precipice. So, what was your light bulb moment? What was it that fucking said one day, "Do I need to be doing this, or can I fucking take control?" What was the trigger?
I was homeless at the time and a drug dealer. Obviously, that's how I was paying for my own substance abuse, getting high on my own supply. And I chose doing drugs over being a father. And I needed something to change. So I reached out to family and they said, "You need to get clean. We'll give you somewhere. We'll give you 6 months. But
Yeah,
if there's a smell of anything besides tobacco on you, you're immediately back out on the street." So that was my light bulb. Fix myself or I'm gone.
Gotcha. So what happened there? You stayed with your family. Did you transition to cigarettes, or did you say, you know what, I'm not going to do anything, including cigarettes, nothing at all?
Well, nicotine is the one bad habit I've never been able to kick since 13. I've had times there throughout my life where I was drinking and wasn't doing drugs, or was doing drugs and not drinking. But nicotine's always been that one constant. It's the hardest thing to get off. You can get off, you have medications in that for getting off heroin, you have medications for getting off meth. Nicotine, I've tried the patches. I'm allergic to them. I've tried the gum. I ended up with a swollen throat because I'm actually allergic to nicotine, but I'm that addicted to it that I can't stop.
So you're still to this day smoking cigarettes, or do you vape,
I
or
I vape. I'm slowly weaning myself off. At the point where I am ready to give it another red hot attempt, but with what I'm currently doing at the moment, putting that extra stressor in within the next 6 weeks,
Mhm.
it will more than likely end up being counterproductive.
Right.
And yeah,
But do you see
I'll,
yourself eventually quitting the nicotine entirely? Is that your goal?
yeah, in 6 weeks, when what I'm currently doing on my log is technically wrapped up, that's when I'm going to attempt to quit again.
Yeah. You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it, man. Trust me. The EVO family is
yeah,
gonna, everyone listening to this is gonna go to your log and support you through it and help you get through it, because there's been millions and millions of people who managed to quit nicotine. I know it's a hard one, but
yeah.
I mean, we acknowledge there's been millions of people who have been able to do it.
Yeah,
I
But
think maybe just because he was doing it from such a young age, it's almost that kind of ingrained
yeah,
stuff that we and
it's
you're
like
that's when you're
habitual.
fun. Yeah, it's the fundamental. I was trying to think of the word earlier on, Steve, when you talked about being a teen and certain particular habits, and I couldn't think what it is, and I still can't. But it's essentially we kind of almost program certain habits for life, whether they're good habits or bad habits, and it's almost fundamental when you're 13, 14, some of those things will be with you for the rest of your life. So to break certain particular things, that kind of stuff, good and bad again, is very, very difficult, almost programmed. I'm thinking, and again, this comes from other shows that we've done on addictive behavior. One of the things we talk about in certain examples, whether it's running, yoga, lifting weights, or any kind of positive exercise, call it what you will. And we talk about taking a bad addiction and swapping it for a good one, a bad habit and swapping it for a good habit. So yours is actually kind of late. You said literally it's only in the last 1 or 2 years that you've even touched the weight. Was you doing any kind of exercise before? How long ago were we looking at the addictive behavior to now? Is it really that short of a time overall? And was the gym the thing that helped you break some of that addictive behavior, or was there something in between?
Well, after I, well, first things first, I want to talk about me pop for 1 sec. He has been off cigarettes for something like 30 odd years. He'll go
Wow.
outside, sit down with his cup of coffee, and he'll still do the crab claw with his fingers as if he's about to put a cigarette in his hand. So some of your behaviors stick with you years after you've stopped doing
Yeah.
things.
Mm.
Absolutely. When I was fasting, I did a 19-day fast. I found myself going to the fridge and opening up the fridge throughout the
Yeah.
day. And I didn't have anything in my fridge. I literally emptied my fridge during my fast. But it's like it becomes such a habit to
Mm.
literally walk to your fridge and open it up. How many times every day? I'm curious, how many times a day do we actually just do that and don't even realize we're doing it because we're so habitually going to and opening up our fridge. And it's just so
Mm.
funny what you just said. It makes sense, and it is as human beings so habitual to do that. And so transitioning from that to now, how do you feel? How did you used to feel when you were basically a slave to these substances versus now how you feel being free and
Yeah, that's a good question.
not
Yeah.
being a slave? How does it feel on your hour to hour life, day to day life, just waking up and in the morning?
At the time, it felt like the bee's knees. Like it felt like the best thing ever. Like nothing could go wrong in my life. Happy, cheerful, bubbly. But once everything around me started coming crashing down, I started noticing that it's not all good. That's when things started to change. I got off all the hard stuff. I still kept drinking for about a year and a half afterwards, but I made sure that it wasn't very often. So it would be like one Friday night a month I would go out. But in that one night, I would have 15, 16 drinks.
Mm.
Then after that, I found the gym. I went, you know what, fuck it. I need to do something for myself. I
Yep.
need to put me first. Started training. I was also working on the railway at that time. I don't know what railway workers are like in your countries, but over here, either they're pissheads or they're druggos. Like for the
I think the
most part, not
sorry, mate,
everyone
just
is.
just just on that, I think because the daytime stuff, and they actually get tested, Steve, as well, because of the dangers of working on the railway. But it's because you're working away, the guys don't know what to fucking do with themselves in the night. And they're not with their family, they're not with the missus, they're not with the kids. So you get great money, it's good work, but you're not at home. You're not with mum and dad. You're not with your missus. You're not with the kids. So once the day is over, and it might be a 10 or 11 or even a 12-hour shift, they go back to their digs, which is 200, 300, 400 miles or more away from home, and they haven't got a fucking clue what to do with themselves. And they've got all this money. So, yeah, it can be fucked up. It is really shit on relationships. Great money, but really shit on relationships. And I know that they drug test, and they will. You're supposed to drug test these guys because it's dangerous as fuck. But it's
Yeah,
not of
but
the
there's
ways
always
and
ways
means.
around.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's
So,
always
sure.
loopholes to get around the drug testing and all that sort of stuff.
Mm,
So I kept, I was still drinking. My drinking actually picked back up while I was doing that. I started training at Anytime Fitness here in Australia.
mm.
So I was like, that was the first 4 odd months of my journey, just trying to make a routine, going whenever I can,
Yes.
doing whatever I could.
Yes.
Half the time I'd just go, if there was a boxing bag, I'd go work the boxing bag for like 20 minutes and then hit like 10, 15 minutes of weights. Just something, get me in there, get moving, do anything.
Talk about that a little bit, the routine for those out there who are struggling with substance abuse or our relatives struggling with substance abuse, on how routine is important, because we talked to some guys before to talk about
Yeah.
that and getting into, the gym and being disciplined and setting a goal and all that.
I'm gonna say, Steve, because he said, and this is where I think we might. I'm going to ask Stephen Frank. Obviously, you start to take control by going to the gym, but it's unstructured. Eventually, just getting there is good enough. Just going to the gym is good enough. Just getting a sweat going is good enough. At what point do you structure it? At what point do you start to take the habit, which is a good habit, seriously?
I I think there's a fine line. Like once you've started building and setting that routine, like even if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict at the moment, you have your routine with, all right, you wake up, you might have a cone, then you'll go have a coffee, have breakfast, you'll smoke a joint, whatever your substance.
Yeah, yeah,
If you're an alcoholic, you might wake up, have a shot of vodka, get on with your day, and then drink a 10 pack of beer at night. Whatever your routine is, you've already got a routine. Find a way to bring in something for you, whether it's
yes,
a walk in the morning, go to the beach, find small things you enjoy and start doing that. And those bad voices start quietening down. They don't go
mm,
away completely all the time. I still have a voice in my head that goes, You've you've done X amount of this. One night back on now won't hurt you. You've done way more. Friends offering me some Molly or MDMA. You've
yeah,
done this. It won't hurt you. So it's just make that first step. Whether you're addicted to food, whether you're obese, whether you're on drugs, that first step, go to the gym. Do just be there. Lift
yeah.
random shit. Go hit a chest press. Do a lat pull down. Go do 20 minutes on the treadmill. Just
How
start doing things.
I was gonna say, how important is, you mentioned friends? How important, and you mentioned your work environment, the people that you work with, and it's 100% that way. I mean, like when they were building the place I used to live was under construction, and I'd walk by, and check out, the street that was still on construction. You'd see all the beer cans littered all over the place because all the construction workers are literally working while drinking beer, and that's literally, they slam how many beers, during their shift, just to get through the day. But like you said, how important is it to get away from having any type of, I mean, it's one thing to work with them, but it's another thing to have a social connection with them, where you guys go out afterwards to the bars, or you guys go afterwards and party, like you said. How important is it to find friends that will be beneficial to your lifestyle and not detrimental?
Yeah, it's a very important thing. So uh, he is a moderator on EVO. Pigsy, massive inspiration to me. I would
Yes.
honestly say he is I would consider him a mate. He inspires me daily. He is the reason I am pushing so hard. He is part of the reason why I'm planning on competing next year
Good stuff.
because he inspires me. He wants me to do well. He's part of the reason we're talking today.
Mm,
So it's all surrounding yourself with people who have the same sort
yeah.
of goals, same aspirations, people who are go getters. If you want to make a lot of money, don't surround yourself with homeless people. Like, that's
Yeah.
just one example.
In
Yeah.
the community, in the work environment that you've described, was there must maybe is there? I'm going to ask. Was there a couple of people that wasn't doing this stupid shit that you could go to the gym with, or was it when you went to the gym there was people there that have quote unquote, as the young people say, gymming? So you're surrounded by people that want to get into shape, that want to do better. What was it that helped? Was there any help in that particular place? We obviously, and we'll get into this, know that there's people like Pigsy on Evo, but what about at the gym? What about at work?
So with work and that, there was no one. Me going to the gym, they all started making fun of me. They were mocking me on the work site. They're like, "Oh, why are you doing that? We work hard enough here. Why would you want to go do that? Why are you doing that? Why aren't you with us drinking beers? You're a dog." All
Mm,
this sort of stuff. I ended up leaving that job for those reasons, and then I kind of flip flop between a couple of different jobs for a while there. I ended up finding some of my people because I was back at home. I started talking to people at my local gym, meeting
yeah,
people.
yeah,
I met someone who was, I don't know if he still is, but he said he was friends with Lee Priest back in the day before he went over to America. He's the one who gave me my first program. We He made a push pull legs 6 day a week split for me. I still wasn't serious. My diet wasn't on point, so there was just the structure in the gym, and I slowly made friends there that way.
nice. I think there's an element here, Steve. You might agree with this. Sometimes, and again, because you're doing this interview with us, this podcast with us right now, Demon Throne, you're an example of this. Someone's given of themselves to you to help you, and that makes you feel good. That makes you want to become structured. You're already getting a feel good vibe, and you're already changing a bad habit to a good habit. Sometimes you, by doing the shows I just said, putting out your vibe, putting out your help into the world, into the whatever they like to call it, is your way of giving back. And perversely, you end up helping yourself more because you're sharing the joy, and it makes you feel good about what you're doing. It makes you feel good about going to the gym. I mean, there's almost a quote unquote "fuck you" attitude to the idiots that you used to work with because you're still doing this shit that they were fucking mocking you for, and you're still helping people, and you're still getting help. So it proves that to them, even though they don't really matter, that you're gonna do this shit regardless. In fact, fuck it. I'm not even gonna do. I'm not even gonna work with you cunts. I'm gonna quit, and I'm gonna carry on with my good vibes. And I don't want to surround myself with negative people. So again, we say when we go to the gym, Steve, everybody's on a different journey. You're on your journey. Let's talk a bit. Let's take it a little bit further forward now. So again, and you guys, you can check out his log. You go from a guy that's going to the gym doing random stuff, then you start to get help. At what point, maybe you're starting to see a transformation, maybe you're starting to see better shape. At what point does it become something you're kind of serious about?
Uh, I had no, I just wanted to be a healthier, better version of myself. That was my original goal. It wasn't until April last year, so a whole year into my fitness journey, that I was like, you know what? Bodybuilding. I've been here, I've been at the gym, I've been building my body. I think this whole bodybuilding thing might be my passion. My diet was still off, all that sort of stuff. I had no idea about macros or micronutrients at the time, none of that sort of stuff. But I was like, I'm going to start pursuing this. I'm going to start doing some research. I'm going to do all of this sort of stuff and see where it ends up leading me, see what
Mm,
comes of it, because nothing, ever since I got off the drugs, nothing has stirred my passion like this.
yes. In
Oh,
a
apart from
way,
tattoos, obviously. I mean, look at me in my photos, tattooed head to toe almost.
I'm just thinking because you get to see positive changes, because you get that kind of endorphin rush, the serotonin, the feel good hormones about going to the gym and looking good in the mirror. And there's enough evidence now, and again, this is for the listeners, in the changes you made to your physique, just literally in the last, just on your log, very quickly at your log, for you to go around, you know what, this might be something that's going to quieten the voices in my head. And if it's a new voice and the new voices get big, get strong, get muscular, kick fucking ass. Is that what's kind of happening slowly but surely?
Slowly but surely, it's getting to that point. I now have big long term goals.
Yes.
The big first milestone is 91 kilos, which I think
Yeah.
is 212 pounds roughly.
90 kilos is 198. So it's about about 202, something like that. Not far away.
Well, the first big goal is to maximize my height weight cap for classic physique, whether or not
Nice.
I have the classic shape or frame at that point. I don't know. I'm still developing
Yes.
realistically, so I don't know where I'm going to fall in the long run. But as things sit, I've got a. It seems like I've got a pretty tight waist, so
Yes.
classic is the aspiration at the moment.
I think
Look,
just looking at your pictures, you have excellent
yes.
genetics. Was
Yes.
your father very gifted? Because he was in the military, was he very gifted
It was my
physically?
stepdad in the military. My biological dad is a stoner who walked out of
All
my
right.
life when I was
Oh,
4
okay.
and never came back.
Gotcha. Do you have any uncles or anything or grandparents
Just
that were
looking at your
athletes or
genetics.
anything?
Yeah.
Or maybe
Yeah.
on your mom's
Uh,
side? Your mom
my
athletic? No?
my uncle on my mum's side, so my mum's got a brother and a sister.
Mm.
My uncle's always had really peaky biceps. His obsession now, he went through a very similar story. He very dark path for a very long time.
All right.
He loves rock climbing and abseiling and that sort of shit now. That's
Mm.
his thing. He goes to the gym, does training as well, but his thing is the outdoor adventure, like scaling mountains and shit.
Yeah. I'm thinking one of the things that Demon Throne asked us to talk about, because we will talk about taking it more seriously and using PEDs and making even more of a transformation than he previously made. But Demon Throne suggested we start with a little bit of the TRT. So we're going to talk about that, but specifically, and again, this is Demon Throne's suggestion, the fucking pain in the ass red tape that you had to deal with some of the TRT clinics and stuff that you have in Australia. So start with a little bit the difficulty of getting started on the TRT journey. And again, this might be more beneficial for Australian listeners that are looking in that direction as well.
So, for anyone who's unaware and that sort of stuff, long term drug and alcohol abuse will absolutely fuck your hormones. My testosterone, when I went and sat down with the clinic, was 20 nanograms per deciliter.
So let me translate that for people. So in
That is
America,
shit.
yeah, we go by nanograms per deciliter, but other countries have a different system. But I'll give you an example. The average for someone, say in their 20s, you should be
Mm,
somewhere in between 400 to 800 nanograms per deciliter. And if you're on the lower end of that, that's like if you're in the 300s or definitely the 200, that's considered
yeah.
low for someone in their 20s. So Demon, he was at literally 20,
Fraction. Yeah.
which is like,
Fraction.
yeah, which
I
is
was at the level
basically
of a woman.
even
Let's say
lower. Yeah, it's
there's
crazy. Yeah.
probably babies being born with higher fucking testosterone levels, males. That is, I mean, that's more just for again the listeners. This is the effects of some of the stupid fucking shit that some people have done, including Demon Throne previously, has had on his body. So that is a hell of a place to start from. And yet you still, because this is what we want to talk about, you still had fucking problems getting the clinics to prescribe you the red tape, as you said, to prescribe you
Yeah. So
TRT. So
talk a
talk
little bit
about that.
about
Yeah.
that, yeah, and then transition to what you're taking now.
Yes.
It,
Yes. Yes.
it's more jumping through hoops. So I had to go get blood tests with them every 6 weeks. One of my friends who got clean around the same time, we both ended up at the same clinic. We were both surprisingly trusted to self administer. He missed his shot by 2 days, took it 2 days later than it was scheduled for. his testosterone levels were peaked higher than they should have been on the blood test. They cancelled him on the spot. They removed his script. They said, "You're no longer working with us," because he was too high for the reference range for what he had been prescribed over the course of the week. So they cancelled him right on the spot.
So
They
it's
took the
so
testosterone
they're
off him.
based So how did you end up getting so you're on TRT prescribed, or did you end up just doing self TRT on your own?
I was on prescription, but the price of a vial was $150 for 10 mils,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous.
Yeah. It's the
Like
same
that's
way here. If you go to a
Yeah,
clinic,
the clinics in
you're gonna
America
pay.
and
Yeah,
in the
the
UK.
clinics,
Yeah,
I know people they pay like 1,200 a month here because they get on HGH. The clinics put them on HGH, testosterone, ACG, vitamin IV shots. They put them on it. It's like
yeah.
a restaurant. It's like going into a restaurant or going to a car dealership. They're gonna give you stuff that you don't even need because they want to rein up. So it's the same thing, definitely. So
Versus what you end up, most of the listeners come to the forums and you'll see for yourself the self TRT route done
yeah,
properly and with blood tests, fraction of the prices that you'll
absolutely,
pay
yeah,
with clinics,
always,
and
yeah.
none of this bollocks with the red tape. The
And then
simple
having to go
fact
to
is,
the doctor and having to do all this
yeah,
shit. So those of you out there
New
who,
Zealand, Australia, and UK, even thrown are exactly the same in terms of it's hard to get the doctors to prescribe it. And if you're anywhere near the normal range, that's good enough. And the idea that this somehow is beneficial to your health is a joke in terms of getting you into a range that actually makes you feel like normal. So, what was it? Just to finish that for, what was the dose that the clinic had you on, and progress into your own TRT and then onto PEDs if you don't mind.
So the clinic had me on 175 milligrams a week, which landed my testosterone right where they wanted it. But my estrogen, my E2 was sitting down at 120 on our
Oof.
scale. So it was my testosterone was low, my free testosterone was high, but my estrogen was low.
Mm.
So they increased my dosages to 200 milligrams a week, which obviously pushed up my test and my free test, but it landed my E2 at exactly 149, damn near perfect.
Mm. It's
After,
a lot higher dosage than we would normally see by UK and American clinics. So obviously
well,
they needed to
for
tweak the dosages for you. Now you've
me to
transitioned
remember
from
how low I did start, I was only at
yeah,
20. So, yeah.
yes.
so
So you're transitioning from the TRT via the clinic. At some point you realize you can do it a lot fucking cheaper. You transition then onto your own self TRT. When you were self TRT, and what kind of dose would you use? And were you keeping it around those dosages, or
Uh,
did you change it for yourself?
with If I was doing TRT, I would run 200 milligrams because I knew the exact numbers. But if I
Mm-hmm.
was running HRT and including growth hormone, I would actually run 250 to have my estrogen up around that 180 mark to
Yep.
try and get more benefit out of the IGF-1 conversion.
how
Mm-hmm.
did you feel going from testosterone levels at 20 to
Oof, yeah.
testosterone levels,
How the
normal or
fuck?
higher?
How much better did that feel? Yeah.
What were the specific differences you noticed across the board, whether it be libido,
Yes.
whether it be energy, all that stuff? Why don't you tell the listeners?
The first thing I noticed was I was no longer depressed. Like I had severe chronic depression ever since I started doing drugs and all that sort of stuff. As soon as I started TRT from the clinic, even though everything still wasn't optimized or perfect, no more depression at all. Then once I ended up going away from the clinic, self-prescribing at 200 milligrams, what I it basically turned me into a teenager again. Hey, all I could think about was didn't matter. Just that was the only thing on my mind. I was always happy, always trying to make everyone around me laugh. It
Nice.
didn't didn't matter if I was around a group of crying women, I would try and do something a little bit silly, try and make them laugh, try and make them smile,
Mm.
because making other people happy made me even happier. And
Yeah.
that serotonin and dopamine boost, yeah, it's awesome. It's an awesome feeling.
We've said that the transformation for some people, sorry, the TRT for some people can be transformative, and they get up and go, and the zest for life, and the grabbing life by the bollocks, literally and metaphorically, it can be transformative. It's just almost life changing for those, especially Steve, with that number of 20 before. You're not even low end of the range and feeling better. You are so far down the bottom end of the range as to be practically fuck all. So anything, and even getting your E2 balance. Talk about now moving on to the idea of cycling, the idea of using PDs to enhance your physique. So you've gone from TRT, now you're making the decisions. So talk about the decision and then talk about your current cycle.
All right. So I've ran a couple of cycles already now. I did basically an oral only with TRT. I did
Mm-hmm.
6 weeks on Anavar at 20 milligrams a day, and then 4 weeks off, and then 6 weeks on Anadrol for 6 weeks on Anadrol at 50 milligrams a day. That was pretty shit because I still had no idea with my training on nutrition.
Right.
Probably a very, very wasted cycle.
Mm.
I my first bulk, which is mentioned on my log, like I've got
Yep.
starting weights, dates, all of that sort of stuff. So bulk one, I ran Mastron and testosterone at 400 and 400, so 1-to-1 ratio. Um, I feel like the Mastron was a little bit wasted there looking back at it now because I was doing a dirty bulk. So maybe something like a Deca or a D bowl would have been a better fit. I've ran an EQ and test cycle at 1-for-1, but my estrogen was 20 on an LCMS test. And I was also on GH at the time. So that GH was completely wasted. That one wasn't my choice. I was working with a coach and he didn't give a shit. He just saw me as a paycheck, which I've learned that a couple of times already. That
I
not all
actually made
coaches.
a note. Sorry, Demon Friend. I actually made a note here in my notes. I said works with a coach, and then in brackets I wrote down on number three, meaning the third coach. Why? I think you've just answered that question because either they didn't know what they were doing properly and they weren't being specific to you, or they didn't have your best interest at heart. The coach you're with now, I'm assuming this is a lot better.
He's very laid back. He's basically letting me run this cycle out as I had planned. So what I'm currently running is 375 milligrams of test E a week, split
Yep.
into 5 dosages on my weight training days. I was running 200 milligrams of mast P injected on the same days. As of today, that's gone up to 300 milligrams a week.
Yep.
For the next 6 weeks, I've been running 10 milligrams of Tren a day, and that's just gone up today as well to 20 milligrams for the last 3 to 4 weeks. I'm currently cutting. I'm using basically a whole mitochondria stack. I'm running SLUP, I'm running GH, I'm running MOTS-C, I'm running retatrutide, I'm using
Yep.
metformin as well. I've got clenbuterol in the
Yeah,
mix.
let me talk about those three: the metformin, the clenbuterol, and the retatrutide, and tell us about how those have helped your fat loss and what they've done for your appetite and all that good stuff.
So I'm only just well, tomorrow marks 1 week on Retta. Um, I'm starting it low, keeping it low, trying to keep it as low as possible. I'm mainly using it for its other benefits, not for the appetite suppressant.
Yep.
So for insulin sensitivity and
Yes.
fat loss metabolism. Clenbuterol, I've used that in the past, which is why I had some left over, and I'm just like, it's here. I'll throw it in the mix, see what happens. Um, I've gone up to 200 mcg daily, and that was an absolute ride. I felt higher than I've ever felt on any recreational drugs. Like
Mm.
my body was pinging like a
A lot
A
of users
Lambo
struggle with.
redlining.
They think a lot of users have this sort of almost anxiety-like symptoms, and we've said at times, Steve and I, when we've done these shows, if you have any issues with anxiety, or as Demon Friend has done, previous drug abuse issues, anything that's going to make you feel stimmed like a motherfucker or give you anxiety like symptoms vis-a-vis Clen is not a good idea. And in fact, you do discuss on your log, as you just said, it's just something you had left over. You're not running it that high. And it's not something necessarily, and again, Demon Phone, you can confirm this, that's something that you sort of suggesting that people should use on a regular
Yeah.
basis, or as you just said, run it high.
Yeah, I wouldn't
I've
even
got,
bother
yeah,
with it. It's
yeah,
the Retta
this is the thing I
alone
was
is
going to
the
say, Steve. I mean, I've made some notes here, and one of the notes I put here, this is for for you, Demon Fro. I said, looked normal 2 years ago, looks, and I've made this into a capitalized, loads better now. From 1 week to the next, just in the log that you've done, and again, based on pictures from 2 years ago to now, and again, this is for the benefit of listeners, so go and look at the log to see it for yourself. He has fucking transformed, Steve. I think Steve's touched upon the genetics. That's the reason why Steve brought it up. I have you either beach body or classic because he's got a waist, he's got abs, he's got veins, he's got the tats that you mentioned, and in some way they actually enhance his
Oh
physique.
no,
You have
that I think if he
absolutely.
had from the start been gotten into sports and not gotten into the
Oh
drug, he
man,
would have
where would he
been,
be now?
yeah, he'd be a
Yeah.
professional bodybuilder by now for
Oh
sure.
yeah, yeah.
But one of
I
the
could
things I want to,
definitely see him as some kind of athlete for sure,
yeah.
Steve. Yeah.
So we've touched on the PEDs, we've touched on the training. Let's touch on the diet a little bit. Take us through what was your diet like at
And
your,
especially sorry, Steve, because he himself has mentioned he almost fucked his first cycles by not having his nutrition on point. So you've obviously
yeah.
realised how
So
important. So
let me
talk
ask
about
the
that. Yeah.
yeah, let me ask the question like this because this is what I want to know. Your worst days back when you were abusing the drugs and the alcohol and all that. What was your diet like at that time? And then talk about what your diet is like today and how it's changed.
Honestly, back when I was using and abusing drugs and alcohol, uh, late, the later years of it, so during the COVID-19 pandemic, my partner at the time, she was also into all the drugs and alcohol and that, but she was a chef. So when we were able to eat, we ate phenomenally. Like roast dinners, we ate very well. One of our guilty pleasures was charcuterie boards, like cheeses, salamis, all olives, all that yummy stuff that is honestly counterproductive and shouldn't be anywhere near
Yeah.
bodybuilding.
It's
Like,
very processed, very processed.
yeah. Um, so for the most part, it was very good back then when I was able to eat. I might not have eaten for like 2 weeks, and then I would eat 2 weeks worth of food in a day. So it was very bad binge habit as well in that regards. Um, then as I started training, I was just eating normal. If I wanted pizza for dinner, I would go get a pizza. I'm starting a good habit. I'm not doing everything. I can't do everything at once. I'm not going to start cooking, meal prepping. That's the wrong way to go about it. If you're someone who has never started training or going to the gym or doing a sport or anything like that, if you're gonna if you want to jump into it, jump in and make small changes to everything at
Yes.
once. So if it
It's much harder for you to stick with everything if everything has changed. If you
Yeah.
said,
So
I mean,
a
you
small
going to the
change,
gym. Yep. Yep.
a small change. Instead of full cream milk in your coffee, try skim or almond or something like that, something with less calories. There's calories you're saving right off the bat. If you're having 5, 6 coffees a day, that adds up very quick. Small changes. If you have toast with peanut butter on it, like just normal peanut butter, maybe you can get lower fat peanut butter. Just small little things. Keep it simple, stupid. That's the expression.
Yeah.
Small things make a big difference in the
So,
long run.
so it's the evening,
Talking
your
about
time.
Steve said, yeah, you
Tell me
said Steve
what,
earlier
tell
on,
me what,
where are you now food
yeah,
wise?
tell us what you
Where
ate to, tell us what you ate today with your meals. Go
mm,
ahead.
mm, mm.
All right. I'll actually just walk you through pretty much my entire day. I woke up. I basically had a serve of EAAs, and then I went and did 10,000 steps while fasted. Got home, had 175 grams of Greek yogurt with 50 grams of raspberries and 1 square of 95% dark chocolate. That's meal one. I normally eat that while I'm prepping my second meal. While I'm eating my second meal, I drank 750 mils of flavored coconut water. I'm obsessed with the chocolate flavor at the moment. My partner is obsessed with the latte flavor because she's a full on caffeine addict. Um, my second meal is one bagel, 2 whole eggs, 15 grams of spinach, and 150, I think I upped it, 166 grams of egg whites. The reason it's that number is because they come in 500 mil bags or 500-gram bags. So that divides by three pretty much perfectly. So one bag does me 3 days. Simple math, keep it simple. My meal after that is my pre workout meal, which is 60 grams of oats, 70 grams of blueberries, 30 grams of whey, a sprinkle of cinnamon, and 15 grams of honey. The honey's there to basically help with the glucose early on in the training, and the oats are there for the sustainability. Intra workout, I have a serve of EAAs. Post workout, I have 100 grams of banana, 50 grams of cornflakes, and another scoop of whey, or 30 grams of whey. My afternoon tea meal is 145 grams of 5% lean beef mince, 50 grams of rice, 50 grams of pineapple, and 15 grams of spinach. Then my dinner is 220 grams of chicken breast, 50 grams of pineapple, and 15 grams of spinach. I like to keep the carbs lighter with dinner to try and help with insulin sensitivity overnight because I track my fasted glucose and I use that as an indicator as to how the day before went.
I want to ask you a question because just listening to you talk just now, and we were obviously asking you about nutrition. I'm just thinking in terms of the journey from where you was to where you are now, and listening to you say the words you just said. I wrote down, did he ever see himself becoming the person that you become now? Did you ever imagine, even when you started going to the gym and working out and thinking about food a little bit, did you ever imagine you'd be this person that knows the grams, that knows the reasons why you're eating certain food? Did you ever see yourself? And again, this is more for the listeners because we're all on a journey. He's been this place, which we could argue is really fucking shit. Now listen to him talking about egg whites. Now listen to him talking about blueberries and oatmeal. Did you ever imagine you'd be the person that you've become, the physique that you've got now?
No, when I was actually using drugs and alcohol, I used to make fun of people who would go to the gym. I
Yeah.
used to think they were the dumbest pieces of shit and that they were all just meatheads with no intelligence back then.
Now
Yeah.
what do you think? Now what do you think?
Depending on the person, either they can be one of the
It can still
smartest
be done.
people I've ever met,
Yeah. Mobster, he's taking
but
a shot at you, huh? No, I'm
No, 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 no. So
Sometimes,
at
yeah.
at my local gym, there's a fella I'm good mates with him.
Mm.
His cycle at the moment is tren, NPP, and test. He only does one injection a week, and he came to me complaining, I have stiff sore joints and my dick doesn't work.
Yeah.
I fixed his.
One jab a week of NPP. Why?
I I spoke to him. I sat him down, and I'm like, look, do you understand that MPP isn't Deca? It's the same compound technically, but the way it's absorbed in your body.
Yes.
This is how it happens. This is why it happens.
Mm.
What is your dosage? He's like, oh, I'm doing half a mil of each. And I'm like, that doesn't tell me shit. Good thing I know
he
exactly what
need
you're using because I
Yes,
got it
exactly.
for you.
he needs to listen to the
I've had a
podcast and
sorry, I've had too many conversations, guys. People at the gym that I talk to exactly like you just said jokingly, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm doing like 12 mil a week." Yes, of what? Is it the same 200 or 300 milligrams per mil, or are you just injecting liquid? It's kind of inane conversations, and there's
yeah.
almost no science
There's
and
a
no
lot of
thought
stupid
process.
shit in the gym for sure. It's
Oh God,
a
yeah.
it's I think everyone's
I,
IQ drops when they walk in the gym. But let's finish out. Let's
I like the demon throne thinks about these things and knows about this stuff. He even said, again, listeners,
I'm
he
still not an
mentioned the word
expert, though.
research. Yes.
so
I
let's
want
touch
to
I'm,
some.
ask him on that basis, sorry, because we're talking about the show very quickly, because we're running out of time. You've obviously had some lessons from coming on to EVO. So talk about the benefits of coming on to EVO and how that's helped as well. And you
Yeah, how
mentioned
did you
Pigsy
find
earlier.
about you? How did you find Evo?
Mm, mm,
well,
mm.
before joining Evo, I don't know if I can directly shout him out or not. I've been part of the UGL Oz community for the
Right.
last 3 years. That's where I went after I left the clinic. That's how I
Yep.
know Pigsy. I know UGL Oz rep very well.
Yes.
I would consider
Yes.
them both pretty close friends. Um, I was there talking to Pigsy one day, and I'm like, "Hey, I he- I was hearing all this nasty stuff about Evo. People saying there were bots on there, that there were just nasty comments being left on people's things, and I'm like, I want to go over there and start a log. Created my account, reached out to Pigsy and said, hey, it won't let me post. 5 minutes later, he messaged me back saying, you should be able to now. Get on, give it a go. Let's see what
Yep.
happens. And yeah, less than a week later, here we are.
It is sad, isn't it,
Yeah.
how people out there bash evolutionary and say, those nasty things. And it's because they want to, it's like you said, the friends, well, not friends, the people you used to work with, it's the same thing. The misery loves
Mm.
company. They don't want you to succeed. They don't want you to find a community like this, a family. So like the evil family, it's a family. And that's what it is. We all support each other. We all help each other. So it's a shame that forums out there say those types of stuff, but it just goes to show you how mean and nasty people are out there and how evil they are. They'd rather
There's
you
I'm
fail
not.
than
It's not
you
like the full
succeed.
forum. It's like there, like some individuals, like, hey, this place is bad. This place is bad. You'll hear the same thing about vendors and that sort of stuff. Someone might have a bad experience or catch someone on a bad day.
Yes.
Maybe,
Like
yeah.
let's say you got one of you guys is having a really shit day.
Mm.
Someone's like the same person's on the forum every couple of days or every couple of weeks, just asking the just putting it out there, the dumbest shit like, hey, can I stack Debold, Decker, and MPP and run it with no test base? If they're asking stupid questions like that all the time, I think even you boys would end up getting short at some point and just being like, you're banned from fucking steroids, mate. Fucking give it a break, go do some research, and then come back here
We
when
had
you've
a
got your
couple
head
of young
screwed on.
members, Demon Throne, that came on, and I think Lev said, "Oh, didn't you ask this question 4 months ago?" And you didn't come back and answer the question that we asked you 4 months ago, and you're back asking the same question. We need you to take the advice that you're being given, and it's coming from a good place. One thing I want to finish on for you, and we try to do this with a regular guest like yourself on these kind of shows. Give the listeners one piece of advice, something you've learned about your journey, whether it's from the beginning, from abuse, or whether it's training. You've mentioned the importance of nutrition. So give the listeners the think of something you've learned that you think they could benefit from, just as we finish.
I think the best bit of advice I can give anyone, whether you're making a transition from one sport into another, like powerlifting into bodybuilding or anything, just go for it. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to hurt yourself in the gym, going to have to take a little bit of time off. If you're coming from a drug background and you start working out, worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to get muscle and you're not going to be a piece of shit. If you're a full-blown alcoholic and that's all your life revolves around, if you start going for walks near the beach, you might fall in love with the ocean again. You might have grown up around there. Those small little things in your life, just fucking cherish it because you don't know when it's going to end.
Nice. I like that, Steve. Have you got any final questions, Steve, before we finish the show?
Yeah, besides Pigsy, you mentioned Pigsy a couple times. Can you name a few other guys who have really been helpful to you on the EVO forum and who've really been motivational to you and maybe some logs that you really enjoy looking at when you come on the forum?
Um, I've had a flip through SWCC's log.
Yes.
Um, he seems like a great fella. I actually did that after listening to his podcast the other morning while doing my walk.
Yeah.
That's kind of now habit listening to it while going on doing my fasted walk.
Awesome.
Lev, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, uh, all up from here is one of the boys that keeps popping up and I keep seeing all over the place. Codes, I think it is.
Yes.
Um,
Codex.
yeah, quite a few of the boys just they keep popping up, saying different things, even noticing that, hey, your photo today, you're
Yes.
leaner and sharper and cleaner than yesterday.
Mm.
Yeah, just so far, everyone on Evo's been absolutely fantastic.
I think, again, just for yourself, Demon Thrones, you're putting out an energy all of your own, whether you mean to or not, by virtue of the journey that you've been on. And again, as we said at the beginning, and we said in the pre show to you, this stuff, this information, your story will help other people. And people like those names you just mentioned are going to be the kind of guys that want you. Some of them have been on the same fucking journey as you. I mentioned Harley Guy earlier. They've done the same stupid shit and they know the benefits for themselves. So they don't want you fucking up and they want you to improve. And as I said again for listeners, check out his log because he has fucking changed so much, not just in terms of his physical look, but in terms of his nutrition, in terms of his training, in terms of his sensory direction, the person he used to be versus the person he is now. So, yeah, look, again, Demon Frank, thank you so much for coming on today. It's made a lot of things. I love the thing about going on the beach, taking 5 minutes out of your day if you're just doing stupid other shit and just being grateful for being alive and smelling the roses, because that kind of stuff we sometimes forget to do. Hope, listeners, that you think the same things as we did and enjoyed the show. Please note, as always, we are not doctors and the opinions are ours. It is our view and based on our experience and views on the topic. A podcast are for informational purposes, entertainment only. The freedom of speech and the First Amendment applies.